If you have watched our Lazy Susan assembly video, you'll notice that in that video we had mentioned, it's very, very critical, that the Lazy Susan trays are installed on the cabinet bottom and the middle shelf if you've got two Lazy Susans before you install or assemble the cabinet. In other words, the Susan has to be on there when you nest the cabinet together during the assembly process. What we failed to do in that video was really show you how this gets mounted to the shelf or the cabinet bottom, and we've had some customers come back and say, hey, that wasn't intuitive to us. And like a lot of the aftermarket things Conestoga buys from some of their supplier partners like Omega National, there's no instructions in the box, which we find particularly frustrating, but we want to give you some video help with that. So this is using Conestoga's standard base Lazy Susan tray. We're doing it for a Lazy Susan 36 with the pie cut notch in the tray. And I want to walk you through what you're going to do here to install these on the cabinet bottom, and then you duplicate that action on the shelf. Assemble the cabinet box, and before you put the backs on, like the video shows, you'd slide your shelf in, and of course your bottom would already be part of the cabinet. So watch that video for the assembly of the box. We're only talking about putting the trays on the cabinet floor and the shelf. So what you'll get out of the box, each tray comes with, or each box comes with one tray. So on these ones, you have to order 2 trays for each cabinet. Some of Conestoga's Lazy Susans that they buy from other suppliers, when you ask for one quantity of one, you get 2 trays. This particular one we're talking about, it's the normal BLS. It's 1 tray per box, so you got to order 2. You'll notice there's a little plug in here. You want to pop that out to get started. Just set it off to the side. And now I'm going to work on this one here because I've already started here and I want to show you what we're doing. What you're going to do is you're going to set this on top of your cabinet floor. And what we use as a piece of scrap is just a piece of 1/2-inch toe kick that we've got kicking around from the job. There's lots of pieces that are 1/2 inch in your cabinet assembly. The toe board backer, just get something that's 1/2 inch thick. And what you're going to do is you're going to push this back out of the corner until it's a 1/2 inch off of the edge of the dovetail and a 1/2 inch here. That's kind of our marker. You can use a tape measure, but this is just kind of a nice gauge. What that results in here is, I'm going to tip this up for you. What this results in here is you're going to have a step back in here that's the same, okay? You want this reveal of the cabinet shelf to be the same. And the reason that 1/2 inch spacing back here is critical, and we want this Susan as far back into the cabinet as we can, is because when you put those big 170-degree articulating bloom hinges in the cabinet, you don't want that hinge hitting the front corner. If you have this pulled too far forward, when you rotate this, it's going to hit that hinge when the door is open. So you want to keep it back inside the cabinet. It's a very frustrating thing to find out when the cabinet's built. So keep it way back, and I'll give you a dimension here just so you kind of know where you should be. You should be stepped back from the edge of the panel by about 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 inches, somewhere in that range. So once you've done that, you can set this off to the side. Now I took my plug out. What I'm going to do now is grab a, step off camera here, I'm going to grab a 3/32 drill bit. And because there's no instructions, this is what we've found to be the easiest. When I take that plug out, you're looking at a piece of metal. And these Susans have a centering device. So I can show you this. The plenum on the bottom, you can see it spins free, and all of a sudden it locks. And right there, it wants to lock at center. And so this tray wants to, when it spins around, it wants to stop at center and fall into that hole. So you want to get it in that situation so it's not spinning free. It's right there. It's locked into center. And then you can set your tray on there. Get your spacing the way I've done, and when you pull your plug, you're going to run this 3/32 drill. Just make a quick plunge hole. You just got to go through the metal. That's all you're doing, is going through the metal. Take your drill with a tip. Take a no thicker than a 1 inch or no longer than a 1 inch wood screw. 3/4 would be even better. And you're going to run that screw through the plenum, which then goes through the plywood base and into your cabinet bottom or your shelf. That kind of locks that plywood bottom down a little bit, at least in that back corner. Then what you're going to do is you're going to have to carefully work this thing over till it goes off of center. What I find helpful, if the plenum is sliding around underneath you, you can kind of hold this thing here on the plywood box and just spin it until this thing is off of center and spins freely. And then I'm going to spin it all the way over until I get the corner of the plywood exposed, and I'm going to run a wood screw in there. Now I've locked that corner down. And I do the same thing. I spin it back over to this corner. I've got to get a different drill tip in there. I've got 4 screws, 1 for each corner, and I'm just going to lock down each of those corners. 1, come over to my corner here. And each of these has to be screwed down to give you stability. You don't want to make these screws too long because you'll go through the 1/2-inch plywood base plate and then through your shelf, and you'll have a pointy tip of a screw hanging out below. So you only want 3/4 of an inch long screws if you can help it. So now I'm locked down. My tray finds center. You can see it stops, settles in. I got my proper gapping. I'm a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. That's where I put my template, was right there. Okay, as I spin this, you can see the corners I exposed to run those screws. 1, 2, and the third one and the fourth one on the other side. And that's what's holding that Susan from rotating around, or from shifting around. It's locked to the cabinet floor. So they're really not very hard to put in. It is critical, I want to stress again, that you put these in and mount them before you close the cabinet box off, because what happens is when you get the front frame on here, you can't fit these through the cabinet opening, at least on a normal traditional 36 by 36. You could if it was an asymmetrical and you had like a 42-inch leg. On a 36 by 36, you will not get those through the opening. You have a problem on your hands. So hopefully this has helped. If you have, give us a call if you have any questions. And oh, by the way, you don't want to forget to put your little plastic plug back in. Give us a call if you have any questions. Our sales guys can walk you through this pretty easy as well. You can reach them at 888-211-6482. And as always, thanks for watching.